All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, we have an amazing warrior guest for you today, Jeff Brandeis, and I'll talk about him in a second. But let me remind you of why you're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. In each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have a unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future. And today's warrior is no exception. Jeff Brandeis is an awesome warrior. He is a husband, a father, a grandfather, a business owner, entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and consultant. His 30-plus year warrior journey began in Queens, New York, but then moved to Florida, where he was a tax accountant for 24 years before moving into coaching, sales, and starting his own business. Today, Jeff has transitioned from working with clients to save them money on their taxes to working with clients to have the retirement they truly want and to be debt-free. His vision is to utilize a proven system of eliminating debt, including mortgages, typically in 9 years or less, and giving families new hope for a financial future that they never knew was possible. Jeff Brandeis, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. How are things in Florida today, brother?
Hey, things are doing great, David. The weather's gorgeous, sun's shining, and no disrespect to our Northeaster folks, I don't miss the cold.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I do not miss the cold either. It's supposed to be, it was beautiful today here. It's in the mid 70s and actually not very little humidity right now. And so yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's a shame to be in here talking, but I'm looking forward to talking to you. So, anything unique or interesting happen in your world over the weekend or over the week?
Well, it was my granddaughter's birthday over the weekend. We're actually going back out tonight for a dinner celebration. So we got to see her and my family last night, and we'll see the rest of the family tonight.
That is fun. So yeah, those birthday celebrate. I've got 5 kids and 6 grandkids, so it seems like we're always celebrating somebody's birthday. We're always partying. I think the restaurants think that we just use that as a way to get free stuff. So yeah. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break for the audio audience. You'll hear a little of our theme song. It's Not the Getting There by Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back with Jeff Brandeis to hear his story in Warrior versus Zombie. All right, we are back. And Jeff, I'm glad that you've got beautiful weather there in Florida, and we're sharing our appreciation for living in the South. Both of us, I think, have lived in the North. So definitely know what I don't want to do. I don't want to shovel snow. I don't want to have I don't want any of that. So for sure. So as said before the break, I want to hear your story. I want to hear from how you got from where you started to where you are today.
Well, it's been an interesting journey, like most of our careers, Dave. Went to school for accounting, started working for back then, which was a big 8 accounting firm, doing tax returns, and had a little entrepreneur in me back then as well, where I started a little tax practice with who then back then was my best friend, and did tax returns for a whole bunch of years. And then one of my best friends who I met while I was doing returns and working in the CPA firms, and David said, "Hey, we have a job here and working in a software company. Why don't you come on in and help us support our clients, do some presentations, and basically just change the way you're doing things."
Mm-hmm.
And David, I was like the shy introverted guy, right? You go to the party, I'm the guy that's sitting in the corner, and I had my pencils in my pocket back then, and so I went to tell my wife about this job interview I was about to go on, where I had to go talk to people. I had to go stand up in front of people, And she looks at me and goes, "You really going to do that?" It's one of these warrior life changes events. And so I went for the job interview. Long story short, I got the job. And, from there, I just became a whole different person and personality came out. And if you ever get to meet my wife, Dave, and you asked her a comparison between how I was when I first met her and we first started dating to where I'm at now, it's a totally different personality person. And yeah, there's still that little bit of shyness that comes through every once in a while. But now, I'll do podcasts. I'll go up on stage, talk to 500 people or 1,000 people in the audience, and go up and introduce myself to someone who I never met. While in the past, I would never even dream about doing that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, as we get more journey behind us, we realize that there are certain things that we have to do. And just because you're comfortable with being, that's the thing with uh, introverts. My wife is an introvert, and she can speak, she can do, and actually was in a mime troupe, did all these things, right? But she can do them for short bursts. But in terms of that, but it can, if that's all you do every day, day in and day out, it drains her energy. But it doesn't mean you can't push through that and actually become very successful, which obviously it sounds like you have. So as an accountant, though, you really like that bean counting thing that we called it when I went to Wharton, went to the business school and stuff, is as I think we talked about prior to this podcast, is that was my least favorite subject, was accounting. So whether it was tax accounting or general accounting, or I never got it. It never inspired me, but it sounds like it did you. So tell me a little bit about the challenges or the zombies you've overcome getting. We got one of them, which is your intro, that it's against your quote zombie nature to speak and get out there and make sales calls. But tell me a little bit more about that, the zombies that you've encountered.
Well, probably one of the biggest zombies we had to overcome, David. And there's one little stop that was left out in my opening, and that was our move to Chicago, from New York to Chicago to Florida. And yes, I have a New York accent. Yes, we were raised, and I was born in Queens and lived out on Long Island for my most of my life. And I to move to Chicago for a job opportunity, and it was one of those where you move for the job or you stay by where the family and where your roots are. And that was probably my toughest decision. Leaving back then my sister who was local, my mom that was local, and even picking up our kids and moving them from their roots, stripping everything away, and then going to Chicago was really life changing and very emotional event on all of us. And it was one of those things where you just weigh the good things and the bad things, and you hope that things have worked out. And yes, they did work out obviously in the long run, but very emotional and very trying, and one of those things that you just make that decision. You look forward. You can't look back. You can't say, well, after you get there, should I go back home? That would be the easy thing. But you kind of stuck through things, and we actually went to Chicago for a purpose. And as we look back, and we spent 18 months there, and then we moved to Florida.
So you moved to Florida, and you mentioned that. I mean, by the way, it's totally understandable, having moved with my family. With my oldest daughter was sophomore in high school, and then the others were younger. But yeah, I can. And then you move away from your support structure and those kinds of things. But that's one of the things that I think as warriors we forget, is it's always a family affair, right? I mean, it's always you're moving your home, you're moving your everything. And so it has to be thought of. And as I say, prayed about in a very holistic thought process. And there's things that crop up in that process that maybe create challenges, but as warriors, we keep moving forward. So tell me, what else occurred along your journey to get to Florida and where you are today before we get to what you're doing today?
Well, leaving my mom, was really difficult at that point in time.
Mhm.
And about 60 days after we moved to Chicago, my wife got diagnosed with cancer,
Oh, wow.
and it was talk about battling. Here I was in the new job, new environment, and you touched on it. There's no support group after you relocate to a new neighborhood. Yeah, there are neighbors, but you don't have that relationship that you had after moving and being with people for 10, 20 years. So we were out in Chicago really on our own. Obviously, my wife's parents were still back in New York as well. And obviously, my family was back in New York. Yeah, in some ways it was good news. Some ways it was bad news. It was,
Mhm.
watching someone go through, you know, the treatments and stuff like that. There was probably would hurt her parents more somehow to see, my wife or see their daughter really in going through what she was going through. Um, so that was definitely, obviously, a major uh, warrior battle, if you want. I mean, big time battle to stay focused on the job, just be there for the wife, be there for the kids. We at the same time, we had a Siberian Husky that we took from New York to Chicago, and the Husky didn't fare well in the move. And we wound up putting down the Husky, and I think in the first 90 days,
Wow.
I mean, he was getting old, but the move just didn't really go well in the new environment there. So yeah, in the first 90 days, David, we went through lots of life-changing events, and the kids really weren't happy settling into the school. Chicago schools are different than New York schools. So you talk about going through, one warrior battle at a time, and we were fighting a lot of them all at once.
Yeah, for sure. And it's sounds like that was kind of one of those very stressful and challenging times that we as warriors often encounter and think, gosh, surely nobody else is going through this, right? But obviously, you made it. You've got family things. I mean, uh, again, with the size of family that I have, I've experienced a number of the things you're talking about in the last few months. I mean, it's just but not having, being there. I mean, life is full. I mean, every bit of your life is challenge and support, and having the support in there is an important thing, because if you see everything as challenge, it results in kind of depression. And if you see everything as just it's all going to work out, all rainbows and unicorns, you're living in a fantasy. So yeah. So what else? What other challenges from? So you moved, you got through the Chicago thing, had to weather that storm, uh, found your way to Florida. How did that go? What?
Well, yeah. well, our first move when we went from New York to Chicago, you want to talk about another warrior, the moving truck, obviously got to hire a mover. So the driver quit about halfway from New York to Chicago, unhitched the bed from and left our stuff in a trailer park. So we we arrived in Chicago. We had none of our belongings. They finally brought the belongings to Chicago. They opened up the back, and my God, it was a mess. So somebody ravaged through all of our belongings. Thank God. Oh, and then our gas tanks on one of our cars got punctured when they moved the cars. So yeah, we had a whole fun time moving from New York to Chicago. Chicago to Florida. The move, thank God, went a lot smoother. We actually, built a new house when we came down here. It was kind of a something new for us to do, and it was, a if you ever built a house, you go through challenges in there too. I mean, you know, uh,
Yes, I have. Yes, I
yeah,
have.
picking out tile, picking out paint, picking out kitchen, and oh my God, that didn't come in on time, and then you try and coordinate the move, all that good stuff. And again, moving again, started another job, another role, and again, all the ramp up time again to get that moving. But again, you put your best foot forward. You're doing things for a reason. You have a goal. I'm a very goal oriented person as I kind of move from the facts and figures, making sure you have things in balance, making sure you're doing things, and
Mhm.
um, if you don't set a goal, then you just, in my mind, you're just going through motions. So you have to, be able to, I'm sure most people have heard about SMART goals and realistic goals and things like
Mhm.
that. But I am goal oriented, and, and try to always overachieve the goals that I'm doing or that I want to achieve for a year or for a time frame.
It's awesome. So, any other uh, about your story in Florida and all that in terms of getting, once we get to today, I want to talk about what you're doing today, but we'll take a break before that. But let's.
So, getting involved is really one of the key things of with your kids and the community. So I mean, my son was playing little league ball, so I became a coach, for the team. You get involved with the community events. You get involved with the schools. You you know Florida obviously was it's a lot different weather than Chicago, for sure, and even to that extent New York. So having, you know, great weather year round was phenomenal. Having the pool in the backyard that you could swim, you know, as often as you wanted to was also awesome. Um, but being able to fit into the lifestyle, and
Mhm.
there are definitely community lifestyles. There's obviously the Chicago style, New York style, then there's the Florida. The pace down here was a lot slower. Things, before even 9/11, the New York lifestyle was totally different pre 9/11 hours, obviously, versus post, where you could walk into an office building and things like that. Um, but I was always a remote worker, even
Mhm.
before remote was really a word or a term. And being able to work from the house always provided, a different type of um, warrior type environment because, yeah, work from home become a lot more common these days. But when you go back 15, 20 years,
Mhm.
technology was a lot different. Okay, we weren't zooming, but we were. I had phones, and we were traveling a lot more often, and being away from the family, being away from the kids was also one of those challenging environments, especially with what was going on with my wife. But it was, again, you have a purpose, you have a goal. I mean, my wife, thank God, came through things well. She's still taking the treatments that she goes for her checkups, but
Mhm.
strong woman, strong personality, and being able to you know manage herself, work with the kids, manage my schedule, and me being here when I can be here or could be here. And now that I'm working full time from the house at this point with less travel, the kids are grown, but at the same token, as you know, the grandbabies are around, and it just adds a whole new dimension to the life.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, we'll get into the next segment. We'll talk about financial planning and and just some of the things you're doing now. But it's fascinating to me how one of the things that I missed in the process was the fact that when your kids roll off the payroll, as you think your grandkids roll on the payroll. So some of that financial planning needs to have a, a multi generational thought process that I don't think I as effectively as I wanted to thought about. But anyway, I've been retired for 17 years and living a version of my ideal day and focused on impacts. So, well, let's do this. There's a number of things you hit along the way there. Obviously, the family challenges are always in play. Maybe they're different challenges, but they always can get in the way, and that's what makes you a warrior. As you continue, success is overcoming the challenges, as we say, not succumbing to those or just waiting for things to get normal because what's normal, right? So, yeah, and I can relate also to the technology being different. I put 4 million miles on airlines, and we had video conferencing rooms in the corporate world and stuff, but nothing you could just do, pick up and open up your computer. So in a lot of respects, there's some challenges today that we don't have to deal with. Maybe some of the millennials that listen to this podcast will go, "What are you guys talking about, Grandpa?" It probably is. They're going to go, "I can't relate to this at all," but I think they can. Anyway, let's do this. Let's take another quick break. We'll hear a little more of our theme song from Ricky Jean Wright, and we're going to come back. And when we come back, I want to talk about what you're doing today. So let's hear a little snippet of that, and we'll be right back with Jeff Brandeis and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Jeff. Well, you're a little younger than me, and your kids are a little younger than mine. But all I can tell you is I can relate a lot to some of the challenges that you experience. And by the way, I know we're not going to get as deep as we would like to in this segment. And so, for those listening to this, I'll try to get it published today because tomorrow at 9:30 Central, which I think is 10:30 your time, we're going to be doing a mastermind around what I call planning for financial freedom, is what I labeled it as we go forward. So you're welcome to join us live for that, and those links will also be in the show notes. So as I said, Jeff, tell us about why you're doing what you're doing today, and so on.
So, what I do today, it kind of goes back to my roots of when I started doing taxes. Was people always wanted to save money. People always wanted to, have more money in their pockets, and I always wanted to help families or help people, save money, for lack of a better phrase, because it's, maybe like yourself, you were in that, into the tax routine or the accounting aspect of life, like you said. So you go to somebody to help guide you, help educate you, if you would, because that's really at the end of the day what I think I do best is I educate people on how to maximize their tax refunds or how to maximize their retirement now. And at the end of the day, it's all about education, because if you can educate them, you can teach them new things. That's how you build, in my mind, your credibility to people. So what I do today is really came out of my roots of why I started doing the tax returns in the beginning. So I kind of went from, even myself was, I needed to know what I needed to know, and so I can save myself a whole ton of money. And now, now that I'm getting closer to that retirement age, is, let me help those people who I grew up with in the generation perspective, so to speak. I don't do taxes anymore, so I'm not going to ask you if you need someone to do your tax return. But now I'm doing, helping, people plan for the retirement and be able to, live the lifestyle they want to when they want to retire. And, so I typically ask, and you kind of hit this in my opening of my bio, I typically ask people two questions, which kind of covers both areas that we're talking about. First question, are you 100% sure you're going to have a great retirement, or you have some doubts? And most people have doubts because they haven't prepped well enough, because life just hits them. The other question is, well, if I could show you how to get out of debt in 9 years or less, including your mortgage, without spending any additional money than you're spending right now, how would that help you? And most people go, that'll never happen. That's too good to be true. I never heard about that one before. So again, it's all about education. So I'll educate you on how you can have a retirement, on how you can be debt free. And if one or both resonate with you, then we'll move forward. If it doesn't resonate and it doesn't feel like you're putting on your favorite pair of shoes or your best outfit, and then we'll both know, and we'll part as friends. That's all.
Yeah, it's I have some financial planners in my Warrior networking group here locally, and one of them, I think I shared with you at some point in our conversations that He says it's just a conversation, and really it is. It's just, and I don't care whether it's financial services or whatever. I think you need to come into the conversation with anybody as one of wanting to learn, and obviously the person that you're learning from needs to have a mindset of education. And so I love that focus that you have. So what kind of your unique value, your background in taxes, and you've seen a lot. You know a lot because you've seen a lot. I think there's a commercial out there from Farmers Insurance. It's like that. Um, but what kind of impact are you hoping to have? Is it focused strictly on a one-to-one basis, or do you have a vision of impact that goes beyond that? Help me understand that a little bit.
It's really an impact on a one-to-one basis because each person, each family has their unique set
Hmm.
of environments. Everybody has different income. They have different debts. They got different goals for retirement. We all make a different amount of funds and money.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I could do a presentation to a group of 500 people and just educate them on the process or how to have a better retirement. But really, from there, it would get down to a one-to-one or one-to-family basis with myself and or a team of myself of others to really understand what your goals are. Really, what do
Hmm.
you want? What are you looking for? What's holding you back. Let's get into your challenges, your finances, and everyone's different. So this isn't a boilerplated process where I can just give you um, a menu and go, here, fill this out, and or let me check this is okay, great, let me go produce, or what kind of car you want to buy. Okay, you want to buy a Cadillac. Okay, these are the three options, and I'll put, and these are your prices. This is not like that whatsoever.
Yeah. So part of it sounds like just like our theme song. It's a journey I mean, in terms of it's a system, it's a process. I mean, we mentioned in the beginning a proven system. It doesn't mean it's a proven one answer fits all, but it's actually what I'm hearing is it's a process, a journey that you're going to begin of hopefully starting with a basis of trust, which I think is what you were saying is, and really that's, the education process does that, right? If you teach somebody something, you share something, you get them moving down the road and you're serving them, then it's more likely that you'll be able to keep them on that path. So that's
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. So, well, I think that's really, really powerful. And for those again listening, we're going to be drilling down on that. I think is your process. Is it kind of my family bank? Is that what is that kind of part of the equation? There's some.
So yeah, I'm a registered agent with my family bank, and that's part of our process is to work with the bank or different financial institutions that we basically would add to someone's portfolio, for lack of a better phrase, where we would be able to, from a debt perspective, understand your mortgages, your student loans, your credit cards, your car loans, and we put them all together. And then with my family bank, we are actually determined based upon what we're going to also add to your portfolio, your actual payoff dates for each one of your creditors. As long
Mhm.
as you do the plan, we guarantee each of the dates, and you'll know exactly when you have your car loan paid off. You'll know exactly when to make that last payment on your credit card and for your mortgage, and it's all laid out for you. And first, education wise, I show you a sample plan, and then we would create one for you. Again,
Mhm.
everyone's different, so it's all customized for the individuals. And then, based upon you implementing it, I mean, we've saved people six figures in interest. We've cut people's mortgages down from 30 years down to 7.8 years, saving them $122,000 in interest.
Wow.
And this also builds, cash and wealth where you could put money into a retirement plan, but I can show you also how this is going to provide you even more benefits than what you do in today.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that for tomorrow. But for now, let's do this. Let's take our final break. And we'll get into what I call the land the plane segment. Comes from all my travel, I guess. And we will talk about if we take away anything from this. So think about this for a second. What do you want to make sure we take away? So let's take here another snippet of It's Not the Getting There by Ricky Jean Wright. We'll be right back with Jeff Brandeis and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Jeff, that's we've really covered a lot of ground here, and I'm glad things are great in Florida, and I'm glad you made the journey from Queens to Chicago and to now to are you in the Tampa Bay area? Is that kind of the general area that you're in? Like I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm not in actually Dallas or Fort Worth, but I'm in that metroplex.
Yeah, I'm outside Tampa Bay. I'm about 30 minutes from the airport on near Clearwater Beach and Clearwater and
Okay. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. A lot of fun things to do there. So, as I said, if we take away anything from your journey, from where you are today, what you're doing, what would you want us to take away?
I want you to take away really two things. One, be open-minded about the future and what you can actually achieve. You know, I've been on what I call the hamster wheel of debt, for lack of a better phrase, right, where you money's coming in and money's going out, and you kind of wondering, how am I going to get myself out of this hamster wheel I'm going on? I don't feel like I'm making progress. I don't think I'm putting enough into my retirement funds. How am I going to get myself out of debt? Let me just leave you with, there is a better way. It's a way that does not hurt your credit. It's not an investment. It's not debt consolidation. It's a unique methodology that, quite honestly, most of the financial institutions out there don't even want you to know about, because they make so much money having you in debt. But there is a better way, and I'd be happy to educate you on that. So give me the opportunity to do so.
Well, I love that. I think it's one of the things I've learned having a lot of journey behind me is there's a lot of things that we think are true that aren't. And there's a lot of things, and those are the things that really were killing me, I think, both from a health and a financial standpoint. Is because a lot of times, and again, they're selling you to do things or convincing you need things that you don't really need, and you shouldn't buy, and you shouldn't consume, and you shouldn't, whatever. There's a whole list of things we could talk about, and for sure, knowing there is a better way, knowing at least there's more possibilities, and not resigning yourself to your history becoming your destiny. So I fully love that takeaway. So let me ask you this, Jeff. I know those on the Be Connected platform, this is going to be up in replay. It'll be on the YouTube channel. In both cases, I'd encourage you to reach out, join our group, subscribe to the channel, listen to this, subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast if you're on the audio. But tell me this, how else, or what is the best way for us to reach out to you besides the Be Connected, which you can find Jeff Brandeis. He's got a kind of a unique name there, so it's easier to find. I found him there. So he's an easier guy to find than David Roberts. That's a lot more common. But anyway, so tell me, how do we stay in touch, Jeff?
If you'd like to learn more about My Family Bank and getting out of debt, feel free to go visit Debt to Fortune, DEBTTO, fortune.com, or you can email me as well as jeff@debttofortune.com. Or if you'd like to spend some time with me on a one-to-one basis, please go visit www.speakwithjeff.com. And I'll pull up my calendar, book some time. Everything's complimentary. There's no fees. You won't owe me anything for conversations, or even for me to provide you a plan.
Well, that sounds perfect. And I'm sure that we'll have some folks, those links for those that are listening on the podcast, driving or working out or whatever, it should be in the show notes. So you can go there and and find those. But it's pretty straightforward. So debt to fortune.com. So, and any those variations. So, well, Jeff, it's been great. Thank you for sharing this. Looking forward to tomorrow morning when we get into our mastermind. And for those listening here, we'll be back actually Thursday. I say tomorrow morning because we had to re-record this. We had some technical difficulties, but we'll be back this coming Thursday for another episode of Warrior versus Zombies. So here's the final outro, and we'll see you next week.